United lens, and tonight we're putting it all on the line. Cards down, put it on the table, all in. The 26-27 season starts in a few days and we're going to get into it. The season is here. So before a ball is kicked and before, hindsight makes everybody an expert, these are my predictions tonight. You can get yours in the chat. You can leave them in the comments after the video if you're not watching live. Let's really have a look at what people are thinking, because I'll tell you what, there's been some movers and shakers in the league transfer-wise. But have people gone out and bought too many players to knit together to make a team? Who knows? Who wins the Premier League? Who makes the Champions League places? Who surprises us? And as always in the last few seasons, who massively achieves Tottenham, and which three clubs are heading down. But obviously, the one big, the big one for us, right? Well, you say it's a big one, but it's expected. Where do Man United finish? We've seen the pre-season. We've seen what Michael Carrick is trying to build. And now comes the real test. Is this United side generally capable of pushing back towards the top of English football? Or are we still another season away? It's always another season, never the bride, right? And I'm not sitting on the fence tonight. We'll go through the league, the European places and the relegation battle. And I'll give you my final 1 to 20, obviously in reverse. It's got to be done that way, isn't it? Premier League table. Then we will turn specifically to United. What I expect from Carrick, what he has to improve, the players who could define the season, and whether there could be silverware waiting in the FA Cup or League Cup, maybe even the Champions League. We've seen it happen. We could be like, Greece when they won the Euros, the mass underdog that had potential but actually went and used it. But before we get into anything, a quick one from me. Like every show, guys, we're currently on about 287 subscribers as of filming this, and I want to hit 300 before the end of this month. So what are we today? 18th. So we need 13. Just 13 more to hit that 300 target. I'd love to go past it. We could always love to stretch your targets out. That's what it's all about. Let's get the first goal, work your way up to the hat-trick. A hat-trick for me is 500. Let's get the 300 in the bag first, and we'll see where we go from there. So if you're watching now, like, share, subscribe if you're not already. Enjoy the tactical side of what we get the stuff into today. Hit the button, get those notifications on, and who knows, you could be one of the 13 and then you end up getting called out for doing so. But right now, no changing it till May. No hindsight, no excuses. United lens, Premier League predictions starts right now. Okay? So we will get straight into what I feel is the best place to start, right? What is the point in starting at the top? Absolutely no point. I've done a prediction screen, but I think it makes more sense to start at the bottom, work our way through, and then I'll just chuck it up as a what should we call it? A reminder. Should I put it on the screen behind me? Just blow it all out. We'll get about halfway through and we'll see what people say. So 20. I think this season there's going to be some absolute givens on where people are going to finish and how it's going to go because of the seasons they had last year. Movers and shakers, managers merry-go-round, everyone's spending 100 million on midfielders unless you're Manchester United. It's been an absolute mad one coming in from the World Cup. There's going to be World Cup hangovers. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be, big surprises like Sunderland last year. So I've tried my best. I've gone through the transfers, through the balance sheets that are, doing the rounds now of who still might come in. You know, Man United have just been linked back with Chouamani, Baleba, and everyone as of today. More bullshit. But we just call it down the line, see how it is, and we go from there. So I'm going to start with number 20, and probably to, I don't know, most people, it'll be the Tigers. It'll be Hull City. For me, it's probably my most confident prediction. They've tried to sign a lot of players, but they're old and experienced. But is it enough? I like John Dahl that they brought in. I know United are playing them first game, so maybe that's probably why I've looked at them a little bit more than you would expected. But I just don't see what they can bring to the Premier League. Apart from passion, Hull, very passionate club. But if you look at the numbers, they concern me. I don't think they're going to be the worst performance ever. I think they'll be around the 20, 30 point mark. I think the promoted teams will be taking points of each other, and there'll be a few surprises in there around Christmas time, maybe. But in the Championship, they conceded 66 goals and, reportedly ranked second bottom for expected points, okay? Yet still found a way to get to the playoffs. So we know they're gritted. We know they're got the determination. But if you're conceding 66 in the Championship, you might be setting a goals conceded record for the Premier League. That is an absolute incredible achievement and not a good one you really want. So it's got to be the biggest warning sign for coming up to the Premier League in my eyes for Hull to have conceded that many goals. But it shows they're a front foot team, right? We'll score one more than you. We'll score two. You score four. We'll score six. I can only hope that's the way that they want to play. It'd be great for United. That's probably like 4-5-1 on the opening day if they want to play like that. 11 new signings, but how many of them can you integrate in pre-season? Not many. And like I said, people like Buckland coming in from Rangers. How old's Jack Buckland now? It's got to be late 30s. Mid to late 30s. So that's not going to help. Their promotion was built about overcoming the numbers, really. We all probably agree that one of the teams that should have come up, although it would have been a dream in its own way, was Wrexham. I think they definitely should have made the playoffs and seen what they could have done, and they probably will this year. So, yeah, I'm predicting that the Premier League eventually makes all of those numbers of goals conceded, lack of goals scored, too many signings, and they sit firmly at the bottom, holding most of us up. Then we move on to 19. Number 19, unlucky for some in its own way. You could probably pick the pattern up straight away. I've gone for Coventry. Because it's almost like they were accidentally promoted. Okay. Where other teams just sort of fell away. They won the Championship by 11 points under Frank Lampard. That's huge. Absolutely huge. It's normally a Premier League side relegated, keeps its players and done that. I remember like Newcastle and teams like that coming straight back up, doing the same. They were really heavily invested in. If the math is right, and a lot of them are undisclosed, it's around 100 million they spent on players, and they're looking to stay up. So they've already pretty much spent their parachute payments before they've even got it. So they've broken their transfer record multiple times this summer. So you might say, so why 19th? First and foremost, Frank Lampard. He seems absolutely jinxed as a manager when he's coaching in the Premier League, and nothing goes his way. As a legend of the game, I hope something does eventually in the Premier League, but I don't see it with Coventry. They've got potential. They've got a manager who understands what the level of the Premier League is like, and the momentum you sort of need to keep going. But I don't know. Virtually the entire season becomes whether Championship sort of dominance translates into Premier League kind of the speed of the game, the quality of the game, the fact that if you only get one chance, you better put it in the net because you might not get any more in that match. I don't know. I think they'll be around the 30, 35 point mark. I think they'll do better than Hull, obviously. But we'll see. Callie, evening, my man. Watch us draw versus Hull. Hey, anything can happen. I don't want to play in the first month any newly promoted team, and we get two of them. First day of the season, you're going to have teams that are like so up for it. So up for it. That can go against them. Don't get me wrong. It can be like the kid who runs into the sweet shop. Fucking run straight into the glass door rather than opening it. But I don't know. I think we can go 4-5-1. And that's not a formation. I think we can score 4 or 5 goals against Hull if they try and attack us. But is their manager going to be that stupid, Callie? But yeah, get your predictions in. Not just United, where we're going to be in the league. Get them in the chat. I'll come to them later on. Now, this one might surprise people. I've gone for Fulham in 18th. And I think they barely stay up. There's reasons for this. Their manager, I do not rate, and I know him well enough as a player. But with Arbeloa, I don't think he knows anything about the Premier League. I think he's going to... Obviously, he's played against Premier League opposition at the top end when he was in his playing days. But I think Marco Silva was Fulham. For Marco Silva to go and Arbeloa come in, he's already brought in 2 players from Madrid who... I'm going to tell you now, they might look good, but by the end of the season, they're going to look worse than Subamendi at Arsenal, coming from the Spanish league. I think United do get Sander Berge over the line, so I think that's one of the reasons. I think it might not be the only problem at Fulham with players in and out. But yeah, I just thought Fulham, you can clip it up, Nate. Fulham, 18th. It's a real weird one, and I know it's one that's going to jump out. But when I was just looking at games, when they have the games, who they're playing, when they're playing, and you've got to chuck cup matches in there as well, it's going to be a lot. I think Fulham maybe go young in the Carabao Cup, early doors, go straight out. That could help them. But there's just something. It's just something when I looked at Fulham, I was like, I just don't fancy it going. The fans are turning against the club because of the ticket prices. They're still paying, I think, the most expensive ticket price in that new stand they built to try and pay it off. I know Old Trafford's gone up to about, £79 a ticket. But it's like 130 at Fulham, I think it was, when I last checked. It's ridiculous prices. Yes, it's London, but it's Fulham. You're not paying 130 at Arsenal. You're not paying 130 at Tottenham unless you're getting, top dollar seats. We're not talking top dollar seats. We're talking nosebleed in that new stand they built just to try and pay it off. So it's ridiculous, and I don't think it's going to help. There's a lot of animosity going on there, but manager change, player turnover, and promoted clubs being, stronger than expected equals danger. A bad start for Fulham and they're not trying to finish 12th. They will be trying to escape 18th. I'm telling you now. I think they're around the 30 to 40 marks, somewhere in that bracket, and that's why I say that if I've already said 30 to 35 for 19th, then you can see 30 to 40 points is going to be down there in relegation, relegation fodder, trying their best to stay up. Every year we automatically choose the promoted teams. I'm not doing it. Fulham are my sort of established Premier League team, but their time might have just come again to go back down this season if things keep going the way they are. So let me know what you think. You probably think I'm mad, and I can understand that. So definitely get that in the comments. And then finishing above them and staying up. I had to give this real thought. And you can easily say that Fulham stay up and this team goes down. But with changing manager so late on into, after coming up, didn't see it coming. Though I love Gary O'Neill, Ipswich 17th. I know it's against sort of the easy prediction of, 3 up, 3 back down. But, Ipswich are promoted, and promoted clubs have a horrible recent survival record, right? I think it's, let me think. I think it's like 16 out of the last 30 promoted teams went straight back down, if I remember the stats correctly, including all 6 across the last 2 seasons. So, why do I think it's going to change this time? The reason being, Kieran McKenna had this team set up. Gary O'Neill is also a very good coach. So McKenna out, Gary O'Neill out, very similar kind of hands-on, sort of on the grass kind of coaches. As long as he doesn't come in and try and change everything, these players are actually already quite well trained. Have they been busy in the market? Not compared to Hull, but I just think that they're scraped past it, and it's going to be those results against the teams down there, and all the teams I'm naming. It is going to be them. It's what we said about Tottenham, wasn't it? Tottenham were too good to go down last season because you knew they could just get over the line when really push came to shove, and those players didn't want to be released from the Premier League. Ipswich aren't blind. They were up here recently. So this is second crack of the whip, if you like. Gary O'Neill knows his way around the Premier League. He's got good managerial experience. I thought he was very hard done by from Wolves and everyone else that he's gone through. And I think he's a really good coach. And I would have had him at United at one point, at least as a assistant coach, because he's very good. But I think literally 30 to 40 points again. And I think they just creep above Fulham. It's just like a gut feeling I've got. I know people think I'm probably weird. Guys, watching. I can see you all watching, coming in, coming out. Get in the chat. Do your predictions. I can't bring them up if they're not in there. Callie says the promoted teams are going to think they're the new Sunderland. And why shouldn't they? That's the thing. Why shouldn't they? If you're going to fight as a cohesive team unit, and you're going to go into every game knowing you're the underdog, knowing everyone already thinks you're going to lose, you've got nothing to lose. You can go out, you can fight, you can do what you need to do to stay up. But sometimes you can do too much. And the next team on my list in 16th is probably the most controversial team I could have put down in 16th. Great season last year. Not sure who they're holding on to and will the same players sort of react. Had an absolutely unbelievable result against Eintracht Frankfurt, 7-0 win in pre-season. And you're thinking, that's great. But it turns out Frankfurt have lost to everyone bar Newcastle. They drew 1-1 with Newcastle and got smashed by every other team, pretty much. And that's Brentford. That's Brentford. So there's a few things here. I'm not sure on Thiago. I quite liked him and wanted him maybe to come in as a second striker at United. But then there's more and more I saw of him. I'm going, well, he scuffed that one. He hasn't hit that cleanly. He's got lucky there. And sometimes you have seasons like that. And he got his 20 goals. What was his second top goal score? 21, 22 goals, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't see that happening again. Obviously, Brentford's selling club. They've brought in some good players. But I don't think they suit Brentford unless he's going to change the way he's playing. Like I said, they've had a good pre-season. Good, strong result against Frankfurt. I don't think they've even lost in pre-season, have they? Not for that much to say. In 99, I don't think we won a pre-season friendly, and then we went on to win the treble. So, you know, what is pre-season? Maybe I'll get a t-shirt one day. When we get merch, when we hit that 500 and I get the super chats and I can start selling merch and everything, I've got all the ideas up here. Maybe we'll get a t-shirt made up. United Lens, what is pre-season? I think it could be an absolute disaster for Brentford. Obviously, European football from last year. So there's extra games to play there. Have they got the strength in depth? No. Things like that. So I'm not sort of predicting a disaster. What I'm trying to get at, and you'll notice, is I think this league, the whole league's going to be getting so much tighter. And it is almost like, if you look at last season, the bottom three were so far adrift to everyone else. And at some points, you could go from 17th to a European spot, you know, in a blink of an eye. So it is what it is. But for me, we'll see what happens. But yeah, 38 points, I reckon. 38 to about, I don't know, 45 points for Brentford. And it really could just drop off. And it's the shock one. It is the shock one I'm putting out there. Looks like we're getting a raid from Never a Foul. Good evening, gents. Already finished over there. We're just going through, and you probably just timed it great to come in. We're talking about how I feel Brentford might finish around the 16th in the league. So really do get your say in the chat, guys, because I know where people are going to come back at me on this, and I was ready for it. 148 of you, make sure you smash the like on the way in and hit the subscribe button. Notifications, everything like that. You guys know what to do. You're no fools. If I predict Brentford to be 16th, they could quite easily, in the same season, finish 7th. Because I think that middle pack, that 16 to, we'll say 9th, just outside the Europa Conference League spot, is going to be so tight this year. I really do think it's going to be tight. It's probably when you start sweating around April. And everyone starts moving. If you're a Spurs fan, you know what I'm talking about. You know how you had to wait to get out of that. Fucking hell, we can do it. We can do it. And then you start seeing Leeds picking up points going, we've got to play them in the last 3 games. And you start worrying. I think that could be Brentford this year. Just because of the European, like I said. And ultimately, I think they've got enough, obviously, not to go down. But I just think they could go well in Europe. I think they're pushed for a good run in Europe. And it will hit them in the league. And it's something we need to be aware of. For all these teams going, we could have had 11 teams last year. It was possible to have had 11 teams in Europe. And then you've got to think, when they come back into the league the following season, those ones without that real strength in depth, the ones who haven't had many injuries and sort of overperformed, Sunderland, you're going to get hit so hard. And Sunderland could have made it. And they are the next team on my list in 15th. So now there's a load of you in here. I suppose it would probably, before we go into talking about Sunderland, but I'll change this background up and we bring in the predicted table. Because I know certain people are thinking, oh, well, what have we covered? We're going from bottom to top, okay? And here it is. I will... Wrong way. That way. You don't really need to see the points. You just need to see the team's names. That's where we're at. We're just hitting Sunderland, and you can see I've got them in 15th, right? Oh, God, I've gone under the light too much. There we go. We'll cover me off on those. Absolutely fine. This... Sunderland last year, was it a fluke? Was it good coaching? I think it was the Granit Xhaka effect. And talk about throw the rest of your team out. It's under the bus. When you basically said he wanted to go to Chelsea. Now, I don't know how true that was. I don't remember seeing any video clip where he's gone out and gone, yeah, I want to go to Chelsea. Get me out of here. I didn't see anything like that. But once you've done that, those players last year felt like if Xhaka said fucking run off a cliff, they were going to do it. And then once this whole bullshit came out about going to Chelsea, ex-manager, won Bundesliga, I thought, oh shit, the dream's going to fall apart and it's going to absolutely crumble super fast. And we can only wait to find out. But Sunderland now have to repeat last season while playing additional high-intensity matches. You know, their summer has also been relatively restrained, which was no real surprise because maybe they thought we overachieved. We'll take the maximum money we got for finishing that high up the league, pocket it. We don't really want to spend too much back out. We'll strengthen where we can, but we won't try and exceed expectations. You know, from a side sort of preparing for Europe, I can see them almost doing what Ten Hag and Amarin did about just trying to do enough in the league to get through further into Europe and bring in more money. You know, the Reuters reported Thomas Murner as the only additional player sort of at this stage. And, you know, we've got just under 2 weeks left, haven't we? So we'll have to wait and see. But I think the whole Thursday night, you know, well, technically it's Thursday, Monday, isn't it? But Thursday night's Sunday football might be way too much for a small squad. And again, I don't think they have a out and out collapse, but I do think for that Premier League weekend, if you've been in Europe and you get one of the top teams back to back like we did last year, then you start falling too fast. I don't think they'll plummet. Like I say, I've got them in 15th. I've got them with decent points. I don't know if you can see the points on there now. I said around the 40-point mark. But this is where you start noticing, hang on, Mark said 40 and that's 15th. Yeah, because I think it is going to be that tight. And that's what you need to focus on when you start looking at it. You know, if Sunderland are 15th and you start looking at the top of the table, that's 48 points away from Arsenal. I think win it around the 88 to 90 point mark again this season. I fucking don't like saying it, so I'm not going to dwell on that too much. Brings me on to 14th. But before we do that, let's jump into the chat. Like I say, we have had a never foul raid and much appreciated. I don't know if Kaz is here. I'm sure he'll pop in at some point, or any of the other boys. Wolves F1, thank you, sir. New one. Hope you stay. Hit the sub if you can. Zeke's in the house. Callie says, we reckon we win versus City. No Pep. Their core midfield, Rodri, Reinders, Silva, gone. Well, not really Reinders because he spent most of last season on the bench. But Rodri and Silva is not just a loss to City, it's a loss to the Premier League. Bilal's in the house as well. Good to see you. Yeah, all of you, get your predictions in. 125 of you watching at the moment. I know you might be watching on your TV, but it only takes 2 seconds to press up, whack over there, whack a thumb, or jump on your mobile while you're lying in bed next to your missus, maybe watching or listening to this, and just put where you think we're going to finish. I'm always interested if people think I'm mad or not with my predictions. So we're on to 14th, Nottingham Forest. Forest, I think, is going to be a bit of an I can't even say the word. That's how much they're going to be an enigma, because Glasner going in there. I really like Oliver Glasner as a coach. I don't think he's top level, but he's definitely the level below. If Mariakis isn't going to like fuck around with him, he can definitely do stuff at Forest. Already playing his three at the back, brought another centre back in to make that solid. Their front line though is where it's all gone wrong really, with the sales. You know, I don't think they're a bad team, but I just think they might lack the firepower to finish higher up the pitch. Mr. Putis, good evening, sir. And this is what I mean about this area of the league being really compressed, like incredibly compressed, where one wrong decision by a manager could move you 3 or 4 places, one way or another. Palace in 11th, Brentford 16th, and we're talking sort of like a 10-point swing, 3 wins and a draw. It's not hard, is it? Because there's other teams. What's it? 11 new managers in the Premier League this season. 11 new managers, and that's something we're going to talk about closest to the end. So anyone who thinks I'm mad, managers coming in and bringing their tactics, and then people realise, fuck me, how fit do I need to be? Or this guy actually doesn't know what he's talking about. He was lucky at his last club with players who could do that. So it leaves things very open to interpretation. You know how I read football, and I just look at it from the point of what can the coach bring? What do the players he have? Do they fit his previous club's formations? Or maybe this coach is actually super smart and he'll adapt to the players he's got. Forest could, easily, like I just said, finish 11th and outperform my expectations, right? But I really don't think they will. I think other teams have got a little bit more up top, firepower-wise. Putis says he doesn't see City finishing top 4. Well, we'll come on to them. Everton in 13th, though. I really like Everton's transfer business this summer. I think they've gone quietly under the radar with some of the players they've brought in. Cover. It looks like they finally won't have a Zimmer frame at right back. Barry just makes me laugh up top. They've finally got what feels like a second 11 building, which is, again, what Everton always didn't have. Good first 11 on their day can beat anyone, but a couple of knocks and they start plummeting down the table. Also, with point deductions, have Everton really showed what they're about in the last, 4 or 5 seasons? They've constantly been screwed over by the Premier League. But first full season in the new stadium. Can they make it a fortress? Maybe, maybe not. I see them sort of becoming increasingly more stable rather than spectacular. So what I mean by that is I do think it'll be mid to low block football. I do think it'll be long balls up to Barry, turn it round the corner, counter-attacking kind of style, bundle it over the line kind of football from Everton. And nothing wrong with that. A goal's a goal. It doesn't matter how it goes in. But how shall I say? Sometimes, it's exactly what the club needs. to show that fight, that determination, that nothing's going to stop you from winning the game. If it's there to be taken, you're going to go for it. Obviously, they're not in the European conversation. So, again, this is where my predictions could go out the window because we don't know how much the European teams will fatigue throughout the season. But I don't really see Everton coming back yet. But I do see it in the next 2 to 3 years, Everton being back near the top end of the table, causing problems. Because we know that an Everton that plays the Everton way with the fans behind them, I can't even say like which end or anything now with the new stadium. I can never even remember what it's called. But they're just always right there. They're one of those bridesmaids we were talking about, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Everton's always felt like that in the Premier League. Such an established team, but never really gets across where they really, truly should be. So, for me, nowhere near the relegation conversation unless they're getting more points deductions. And who knows with someone like Everton. I put them around the 44-point mark. Still, you can see, look at those points over my shoulder. Oh, if I do that, look how many are in the 40s and where it comes up to. It's ridiculous. But I just see them beating each other, and that actually keeps you on a low points threshold. And we used to say 40 points was safe, right? So if we're saying 44 points is 13th, and you can get up to 11 teams in Europe in a season, that's mental. Pooter says Newcastle's 6th. Am I joking? No, well, I'll explain my reasoning to the best I can. Big up Jarvis, good to have you in here, mate. And Dave in the house as well. Newcastle more likely 16th than 6th, Mark. Well, we all have our own concerns and worries, and I think some people are forgetting Newcastle might look shit, but there's going to be other teams shit and fatigue throughout the season. You've got to balance it all out when you look at where you think players might finish. Everyone's focusing on players in, players out. That's not what it's all about sometimes. Obviously, it's what we all dream about, you know. I dream that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and Man United have signed a striker, a left back, a centre back, you know, and a new right back. I have nightmares about us signing a bloody central midfielder before anyone throws that back at me. But, you know, there's more bullshit reports out there constantly. Chermaini, Baleba, Lewis Hall, fucking Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi. You know, I just hope I wake up and find a report if it's actually true. David Ornstein, bomber, bang, there you go. Lewis Hall's in the door. And Osman's coming next or something like that. How amazing would that be? Pooter says Everton Stadium should be called Ferguson Park because it was Wigan who scored the first official goal in the stadium, in my opinion. Fair enough. Pooter says Bruno, Tonali, Gordon gone, no chance, mate. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, 13th for Everton. You know, boring in sort of the best possible way, I would say Everton might be. But I see them, like I said, stabilising themselves in the Premier League. Fucking hopefully no points deductions, get some money in the bank from the new stadium. And then 2 to 3 years, they slowly start moving back up under David Moyes. And I think Moyes will be there for a couple of years like he was before. 12th is Bournemouth. I could have gone either way with Bournemouth because I wasn't quite sure how this is going to happen because this is part of the merry-go-round, right? You got Bournemouth losing Iraola and the way he played and what he made those players do in his way. It's going to be a massive change, potentially. A bit like Tottenham. A bit like Tottenham going from full throttle under Big Ange to now possession-based checkerboard football, or should we say Klopp style of football to fucking the dickhead they had last year, who absolutely love. I might get a tattoo of him because he made Liverpool look that bad. But Iraola to Liverpool is very close to Klopp, so that made sense. But the Bournemouth moving, should we call it merry-go-round? Not so much. Another club playing in Europa League football after sort of an excellent campaign. Are Bournemouth strong enough to play Thursday, Sunday? I generally don't think so. I think 100% they were fitting us last year. And if that fitness sort of pre-season and things, if they were used to playing at a level up here and the pre-season level is lower, maybe the manager's come in and said, no, it's all ball work, not as much running. This is what I want to do. I want to retain it. The fitness level will just drop off. We've all been there, yeah? You might be the biggest gym goer and then all of a sudden you're not going to the gym at all. You still got the muscles, still got the guns, walking around, gun show. But next thing you know, you try and do a bit of cardio and those muscles are heavy. You're dragging your feet. And I feel that's going to be Bournemouth dragging their feet after the Europa League. So mid-table for them. It's not because they've become bad. It's because it's become way too much for them. And have they strengthened enough? No, absolutely not. Can Bournemouth reproduce their league performance while playing European football? If you're a proper football fan, I think you believe or hope they could, because it's nice to have Bournemouth and people like that taking points off of the teams you're chasing down. Evening King. But I don't see it. Like I say, I think 12th is a respectable season for them. Potentially memorable European campaigns. Easily, I think Bournemouth, if they don't get injuries, then I think maybe they could go sort of quarterfinals in Europa. Quarterfinals, if they stick to similar football as under Iraola, and like I say, have a repetitive season. But how far could they go in Europa League? Who knows? King says 91 watching, which is actually 96 right now, this second on my screen, and only 13 likes, guys. Come on. I can literally talk you through doing it. If you're on your mobile phone, swipe the video down. It'll go to mini play and you can quickly hit the thumbs up, right? Hit the X, come off the chat. You can hit the thumbs up. That's on mobile. If you're on the TV, just press the up arrow twice. It's going to go up. It's going to go above onto the little bar where you can scroll back and forth. Touch down again and you can go over to the thumbs. Give the video. I need it. I much appreciate it, unlike a lot of channels. And you'd be helping me out big time. And of course, if you're on your laptop or anything, nothing changes. Just go hit that thumb thing. Same with tablets. It's right there in front of you, underneath the screen while you're watching. Let's move on then. Let's move on. There's not much in the chat. Let's get to number 11, and we'll take a little pause at 11. I've gone Crystal Palace. I've gone Crystal Palace for mid-table for the most obvious reasons, in my opinion. Palace played superb while constantly selling players under Glasner. Now, yes, new manager. Will there be the bounce that everyone talks about? Who knows? But considering Palace are such a selling team, I think they could still be potentially screwed over Palace fans by the end of this transfer window. I'm hoping if Man United don't go Chouameni, Kone, Burge, it's Adam Walton. There's other teams looking at Adam Walton. I know it. I know it for facts. From, let's just say, some of my friends that play, their agents are well connected. But they also talk a lot of shit, right? They're an agent. But we all know that. But the people I've heard it from, I trust. It's just the asking price. But if Palace lose another heart and soul player of their team, a season after season, you think Elise's gone, Eze's gone, Gay's gone, fucking if Mateta or Walton go, they are screwed. I was just trying to think of someone else that left. There was someone else that's super hot. Um, was it one of the defenders? Oh yeah, Lacroix. There's Lacroix's left, I believe, as well, hasn't he? So they're literally overperforming season on season with selling these players. And fair play to Palace cashing in. I know they're doing some new building work and that. I think Les, someone I used to work with, massive Palace fan, was telling me about Sainsbury's and the area behind there, and they want to build on that, but they have to buy more land or something. So Palace are trying to do stuff, keeping the money in the bank, and we all know that the owner there, he don't like putting his hand in his pockets. Literally, this is not a guy you want to stand behind at the bar. I don't know. Palace are difficult because there is so much quality in their team if it stays. But they've got Europa League football. Obviously, after winning the Conference League last year, FA Cup the fucking season before that, Palace are all on a roll. You fucked off your manager. You probably pissed off a lot of your players. And whoever comes in feels like he's the one who's going to get it from the fans if they're not performing. A couple of bad results. Again, fixture pile up. Again, the Thursday, Monday. Really, if Thursday night and Monday nights, it's such a drain on players and but even more of a drain on the travelling fans home and away. If you're away in, say, I don't know, fucking Poland on a Thursday night and then you fly back to London on Friday morning, Saturday you start going, oh my God, we're away at Newcastle. Why didn't I fly straight there? It's so hard on everyone and anyone. So they're good enough to stay nowhere near relegation. That I will say first and foremost. But I'm expecting some sort of league points to be sacrificed by their European adventures. Again, I think they can make quarterfinals in Europa League and see where they go from that. If they make the quarterfinals, more points can be sacrificed. We've done it. We've seen other teams do it. Even top managers make their teams do it. So, don't forget the Premier League is the only league in like the top 5, 6, 7 leagues that do not help their English clubs get further in Europe. PSG, we'll call your game off. We'll move it so you don't have a game that weekend so you can prepare to play whatever that match is. In Spain, they do something very similar. Germany, winter break, helping their players. England, get the fuck on with it. Play football. People pay to watch you. Very old school. And teams like Palace, Bournemouth, like I said, could suffer for that and from that. So, yeah, like I said, nowhere near relegation. But I would expect some sacrifice. So I think 11th would be a really good take on that kind of season. That puts us at a halfway mark. I feel you guys coming for me with Newcastle. So I feel like we're going to have a good discussion on a United fan channel about Newcastle United and not Manchester United at this point. Obviously, we're going to do the Man United one last, okay? You can see it. I'll talk about why. I realised last night I said 5th if you're watching on Tactical Devils, and I've put United 4th. But it's because I didn't do all the points add up and see where that left other teams. You'll see I've said the same points, but we're actually higher up in the league. And I've run it through a couple of... I don't mind shouting them out. I've run it through ChatGPT. I've run it through Copilot, and I've run it through... what's it called? Guacamole or whatever it's called, on X. I've used all their AIs and asked them exactly the same, copy and pasted the question about league tables, put in there, said Man United 70 points, that's what I feel they're going to get, and what you generate. Pretty much the same. Like I said, you can see where we have teams in the lower half of the table that one win against someone or an own goal or disallowed penalty or something like that, you can jump 2-3 places. So I've done my due diligence, I'd like to think, on trying to look at this from all aspects. But yeah, I feel you guys are going to come for me with Newcastle, and I might have to explain why. Kelly says, why Newcastle 6? They lose Bruno G. Bruno G is not that good without Tonali and his other partner in crime. I think Newcastle will only just escape relegation. So King thinks Newcastle could do what I'm saying Fulham are going to do. You guys all come in there. No one's come at me about Fulham down in 18th. I guarantee you've not even looked that far down. If we don't get another 3 players at minimum, we ain't getting top 4 this season. No way. We did it last year. No, I don't think anyone's really that improved with their transfers so far. I think it's expectations of what it could be. And that's all we ever have, right? The hope that kills you. And we have plenty of hope at the beginning of the season. Kings also says, I know I won't be wasting my time watching this Amazon TV shite if we don't get better players in and remove the dead wood. This is the comment. I've done a show on Amazon when we first got put out there. I've spoken on different channels about how the documentary works. There is no way we don't sign a marquee signing. If we don't, we will be the first team on there that didn't sign a marquee signing or make a big move. Even in the American football, obviously they do their trades, but they know what's coming, and Amazon probably give dodgy handshakes to get more money in that way, to get a big name over the line so they can do stories on it. So I can't see it happening. But King, you say there's no way you're watching it if we don't get the players in. You're forgetting that they're going to cover why we've not got it in. Forget what we see from Luckhurst and all the other fucking bullshit media people who I no longer can believe the fucking first letter they put on a sheet of paper is correct, let alone what they write as articles. Because it will be from the horse's mouth. We will see Sir Jim. We will see Wilcox. We will see Farada. We'll see some of those conversations sitting down with the manager. Now, I will reverse it and say, how much could it be fake for the cameras? We might find out as well. But if you've watched the Arsenal one, when they started doing their due diligence on like your Declan Rices and people like that, there was so much shot in the manager's office. It was a little bit of an eye-opener. I'm not going to lie. Right, 81 still watching, guys. Come on, get those likes up. Help me out. Bilal, you still here? If you're still here as one of my mods, you should be giving updates and chasing them likes. There's no way this many people in, but we aren't around the 20 to 30 likes for the show. Otherwise, what are you watching for? I must be doing something wrong, right? Slap that like. You can tickle it. You can absolutely wallop it. I don't care, but hit the like button as we go back into the second half of the table, the top half of the table, and we get into the business end with Leeds United. Fucking hate Leeds United. And I even have a mate. Ironically, we call him Northerner, straight out of Bradford. Massive Leeds fan, fucking grown up with all of that in my face all my life. I think this is one of my biggest calls. I think maybe I've jumped a bit because we played them in pre-season. I like the look of them. I like their transfer business. But, you know, Leeds were only 14th last year in the end. But were they 14th because of everyone else? Or are we looking at something similar, like I said, the bottom half of the table getting tighter because of European people and people just trying to outperform? But their second half of the season when... oh God, what's his name? I can't think what the manager's name is. I went to say Thomas Frank. It's not Thomas Frank. I'm sure it begins with F. But anyway, the manager changed something. He changed the formation. He changed the style of play. And all of a sudden, Leeds became a very, very hard team to beat. We didn't do it. We drew and lost. 1-1 at ours, 2-1 away. Or was it the other way around? Can't remember. But Leeds this season, some good transfers. You know, bringing in James Trafford, the amount of mistakes their goalkeeper made last year, it's a massive move for Trafford. And 40 million. Yeah, 40 million for Trafford. It's laughable, but at the same time, I sort of want to cry because as United fans, we can't shift any of our players anywhere near that, let alone James Trafford, who played, what, 4 games for City last year, and then a couple in the league, and then a couple of cup matches after they signed Donnarumma. Obviously, I love Trafford. I was going to say Trashford. First goalkeeper never to concede a goal in a European competition for the 21s. That age group, I believe, all the way to the final, even saving a penalty in the final. I thought, God, this kid's got something. Anyone who's watched enough of me knows I like my goalkeepers. That is where I started before finding the love of scoring goals rather than saving them. It was even more fun. But 40 million, fuck me, that's big money for a goalkeeper of no ilk, nothing to back that transfer value up. So Leeds have got to perform with him. And they also then go and splash the cash, 34 million on Tariq. I think it's Movic. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've written it down, as you can see. I'm trying to read it, and I'm like, fucking Miramovic or something like that. Sounds like a car, but 34 million. So they're pretty much trying to outspend Man United, which really isn't hard to do. But that's why I'm not buying this automatic sort of second season syndrome where they go relegation fight. They've gone, well, we did well last year, lads, but we're going all in. We're staying up again. And you've got to do it. Brentford have done it in the past. Forest, do you remember when Forest went out and signed like 500 players in one season? Didn't care that they were going to get fined like 20 million because it didn't matter. It was peanuts. They stayed in the Premier League, and staying in the Premier League paid for the fine. That's where football's stupid in England. Johnny Commode is in the house. I can see why you put Leeds there. I would agree. They are a team to watch. Maybe slightly too high, but not far off. So the reason with Leeds being up there is the fatigue on your Palace, on your Bournemouth, on your not Everton, sorry, on Nottingham Forest. All these teams that would be in and around Europe. I think Leeds is going to be the best performer of the non-European sides, except the ones we know should be higher in the league. Your Tottenhams, your Chelseas, obviously I'm talking about. So that's why I've put them there. Leeds are sort of, like I say, the surprise package. I think people are looking only at last season's sort of final position and underestimating them. Having played them, having listened to a Leeds fan, we had one in the chat in the preview. They're expecting things to go well for them. So another team that's very close to, I won't say to my heart, but in a way I suppose it is, Brighton. You know, Brighton are Brighton in the Premier League. There is no one who does transfer business like Brighton. There really isn't. No, you know, how many players now have Brighton bought for fucking single-digit millions and sold for triple digits? It's astronomical, you know. Do I think they fucked up by getting rid of Danny Welbeck? Absolutely. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But Brighton, Conference League, I'm opening with Brighton. Brighton are winning the Conference League. Every season, Manchester United, nothing to Manchester United, every season, an English club should win the Conference League. I wish it was the Champions League, but the Conference League. We are so head and shoulders above everyone at that, at that level that, when you look at teams like France and Spain, and you look who's finishing 4th, 5th, and getting those Europa League and Champions League spots, they're shit. So the Conference League spot, they're really shit. And yeah, I think Brighton, I won't say walk it, because we got to see how they get on with what's happened. João Pedro last season, Danny Welbeck this season, the strikers. But Brighton have got something up their sleeve to replace it. Even Evans, the season before that, really. Evans started so well, and we don't really hear anything about him now. I know he was out on loan, I think, at Roma and stuff, but didn't have too good a loan. They'll probably lose somebody, everybody tells you is irreplaceable, and find someone you've never heard of, and 6 months later we're discussing why Manchester United should be buying him. Belabor. But Brighton have European football. That's the part I'm looking at the most. But they're also probably the most consistent lower level team in the Premier League. They really are. And when I mean consistent, I mean it in all ways. The way they spend, the way the clubs run, the way they play on the pitch, the way they replace the managers. Like, oh, so-and-so's left. Bang, next day. Yeah, here's our new manager. We've been looking at him for a couple of years now. It is something to be admired, and it's got nothing to do with the training ground is just around the corner from me, and most of my mates are Brighton fans. I grew up, Brighton made me fall in love with real football when you're going over in groups of 10, 15 mates from school at like 12, 13, 14 to the proper Brighton Stadium, the Goldstone. I won't say the sort of shit we got out of it, but I did make a couple of centre page spreads in the sun. But you're young, 14, 15, like I said, anything can happen. So I do know Brighton well. I know Brighton players and agents, and some live very, very close to me. The Conference League is going to be what they go for. They want that European nights. They got a real taste for it, the fans and the players in Europa League the other year. And they are going to go big or go home, I'm telling you now. So I predict good football, some real excellent results at times, but not enough consistency to, crack the European places again. Unless coefficients, Champions League, five spots. We win. If Brighton win the Conference League, they stay in Europe anyway, but they would also push it down a spot. So swings and roundabouts. That moves us on to the big boys, I suppose, where it all starts to happen. Caddy says, UEFA Champions League. Wow. Okay. She says all 3 European competitions. I had to work out what they were then. UCL, Champions League. EUL. I was like, what the fuck is EUL? And then when I saw ECL being Conference League, I knew it. European Europa League. How do you spell Europa, Callie? Because I might be crap, but I thought it was EEL. I am dyslexic, so maybe I'm wrong. But that's what threw me. Yeah, 8th. You can see it on the screen. Like I say, I'm trying to stay out the way slightly over here. But I also don't like sitting still. We are talking about Tottenham. We are talking about the bottle jobs finally not bottling everything. Where are we going to go from there? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I put Tottenham 8th because I just couldn't see him going any higher up the league than that. No European football. It's one of the hardest grounds now to go to, unless you're Chelsea. They seem to have fun there. But I don't know, with Spurs, my best mate Dean, happy birthday for yesterday, mate. He season ticket holder at Spurs, and without, probably surprising anyone, as he says, no one's ever happy there. It's never enough. It's never good enough. You're always waiting. When it looks good, something bad's going to happen. I.e. selling players, he means by that. It's just one of those things, I suppose. Spurs, their name and resources tell you they should challenge fucking Champions League top 4 with the transfers they've made. Literally, that if they could get any more bigger names in, it feels like all of a sudden they're going to try. And if they back someone like Poch, like they're bringing players in now, Tottenham could be a totally different club right now. But they didn't. We're all lucky in that respect. Not that I think Poch is a transformational manager, but at the time he was overachieving with Spurs. So if they brought in players like they are now, then maybe they could have gone further. But Fernandes, Tonali, I think they flop. I genuinely think they flop. They don't have any goal scorers, so it don't matter who you bring in. You ain't going to score unless you bring in Harry Kane back. Massive advantage not being in Europe. We've spoken about it before. That should allow for the new manager to have more sort of preparation between the league matches. No different to what we did last year, right? No different. So that's why I look at that. But I just don't see any cutting edge in their team. They've got some great players. I love Maddison, but Jesus Christ, who's more injury prone, Maddison or Mason Mount? Because that's what it feels like. So I'm predicting improvements, obviously. Just not enough to improve it, suddenly click the fingers and they're back in the Champions League spots, Europa League spots. By that, I mean high up. It is 8th. It is a healthier season and it's something to deal with, but it'll be interesting to see what De Zerbi's like. Is 8th good enough for De Zerbi? Is 8th good enough for Tottenham? They've obviously paid him a lot of money to come in early doors and not come in for the start of the season, pre-season. They brought him in for the last few games when he really didn't need to. So we can only wait and see. But Spurs, 8th position, I'm thinking around 56. So maybe 50 to 60 points. And you start thinking, well, do you know what? Actually, you got teams on 44. Again, 10 points between down the bottom, fighting off relegation, and 8th. And that's how tight it's going to be. Next up, I might have got this one wrong. This is one I did, and then I'm looking at it going, I can't work out who I was going to move anywhere else. So they stay in 7th. But Aston Villa, they're so hard to judge. So hard to judge. They brought in Suzuki in goal. It looks like they're now not selling Martinez. So I don't know what's going on there. Ollie Watkins is the biggest hit and miss in the entire Premier League. Facts. Obviously, I brought Tammy in last year to try and help get that extra firepower. They qualify for the Champions League again. But we know, sorry guys, we know Villa are a mass selling club just to stay level with PSR because they have no way of bringing in any other money. We've taken Talisman off them. Martinez could go. Obviously, I don't know. It's almost like the opposite situation, right? To not having European football to fear having it. Like I said, they qualify for the Champions League, and that sounds brilliant for the club. But it creates another sort of demanding schedule for they don't have the strength in depth for. We've taken Tillesman out. Who are they bringing in really to replace him and Anana's partnership? Anana running around doing all that running for Tillesman was second nature, but it meant he ended up injured. And I'm not even sure I can pick a Fuller's best 11 when I look at their players. So I'm not sure how the manager does it, or even their fans. But Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, Champions League, biggest toll. You need that strength in depth. We've been talking about it last couple of weeks. And I don't feel we've naturally got it. I think we've got good youngsters, but do we have strength in depth? No, not really. That's where the sort of the 4 to 5 league results can disappear for Villa in a blink of an eye. Did it? Look at last year. They decided, oh right, we're going to go for the Europa League, and this is what happens. Well, actually, I hadn't even thought about that. Maybe Villa will all be okay because, as Johnny Commode has just said, they have Garnacho. So, on a Friday night for a game on Sunday, we'll probably already know their starting 11. If Garnacho's not playing, he'll let us know every fucking bit of juicy gossip. I'd never thought I'd go off a footballer as quick as I went off Garnacho when you start realising what was going on with him and his brother and everything like that. But, yeah, I just fucking hope he doesn't do well there. I really do. Right, let's move on to sixth, to the talking point according to you guys. Newcastle United. Just waiting for chat to start going bang, 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 bang. Newcastle are another side for where I sort of like the first 11 more than I necessarily trust their entire season, right? Their ceiling is comfortably European football. But as you guys have said, it could all go wrong. We could still come in and take Lewis Hall. Then they've lost Bruno G. They've lost Tonali. I think Voltermarga, I have to think how to say his name. Voltermarga in the 10 is absolutely laughable. Like, it's like trying to play Peter Crouch as a fucking creative midfielder. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but it could be one of those sort of mad scientist kind of formation that fucking works. Obviously, the main striker is going to be Visa, however you want to pronounce it. I think there could be a massive point swing, and I do understand where you guys are saying they could drop points galore. But the difference between sort of 63 points and 70 points is essentially just 2 wins. That's all it is, 2 wins and a draw. And across the entire season, that can come from anywhere, can't it? It's not always... We start focusing on the points at the business end. But before that, if you've got those points, as long as you're beating those bottom end teams, you're always going to be there or thereabouts to European places. And then a bad result, some injuries, a bit of magic, a bit of fucking dodgy VAR, whatever it has to be, you can get an extra 3 points where you really shouldn't. And Newcastle are capable of doing that. I understand what people are saying, but I'm talking about, sound like Brailsford here, tiny wins. I'm talking about tiny steps, tiny little things moving forward. I also don't... Newcastle also don't have European football this season, and that's going to help them. So all these teams without European football, someone's going to do something, and that's sort of the way to look at it. And you can't not expect that to happen, because that's what we did, and we're not the first team. I remember last time Chelsea were out of Europe, they came back. Didn't they finish like second or third or something like that the season after being out of Europe entirely? So Arsenal have been built stuff by not being in Europe because they don't win cups up until last season and a couple of FA Cups 8 years ago. It happens. So unlike 9 Premier League clubs, who do have European football. Newcastle don't, and that's where they could get their wins. And if they do sell Lewis Hall, depending when they do it, so imagine we pay 60 million. Think of the money they've got sat in the bank at the moment. I don't know if they need to keep it in the bank or they can go back out and spend it, but it is possible. It really is feasible as well. But Newcastle are the overachievers, shall we say, of the season. Caddy comes in and says Newcastle 10th at best. I reckon Spurs get 6th above Newcastle. Fair play. I understand it. Like I say, this is my points predictions, and not many channels will go through every position, every club, and explain where they're at and why. Because that only really happens. I don't know. This is football, or maybe you guys here, never. I'm sure you did it with Cass on Never a Foul. You've got to have multi clubs, people sort of fighting their corners. I'm fighting the corners for every single club because I see it through that footballing lens. And you know, I use that term. I always feel guilty still. It still don't settle in. It's a bit cringy. But Johnny comes in and says, for me, Mark, isn't it crazy that you can qualify for Europe without winning half of your matches? That's sort of the point I'm getting at, Johnny. It's you can win half, like you say, not even half of your matches. But if you've beaten the teams fucking above you, you start catching them up. It's all about beating the teams around you and above you, right? If you can lose to the teams bottom of the league, Liverpool used to do it regularly, lose at the bottom of the league, and then go and beat fucking us, City or whatever. And that under Klopp when he was bringing them back to the top. So it is really important to understand that not having European football can just be it can be a curse, but at the same time it can be an absolute blessing. And I feel for Newcastle, it might be the blessing they need. But they could also be the first team to sack their manager. Number five. I went with Chelsea. And again, very similar to what I said about Spurs. Big enough team squad to go on and achieve. Still bringing in players. But there were some big buts. And I only really came on to them last night. Daniel's in the house. We've got... Who's the joker? Newcastle at 6. Sorry, mate, but you shouldn't be on YouTube. Hey, I've got Leeds in 10th, my man. I've got Leeds in 10th. I think that's good for you. I just think I just said it. I don't know if you just come in. But without European football, we've just got to see how they start. And it's all about where those games come in their fixture lists when other people have got... Say it's Man United, Liverpool and Man City, Arsenal all in one weekend and Newcastle are playing Hull. It's just so that's where you can pick those points up and climb up the table. And Newcastle could do something, but I doubt it. Johnny Commode says, agree with you. Like us last season, we won 20 and comfortably got Europa Champions League. You can probably qualify for Champions League winning 19 and getting like a dozen draws. Hey, look at Arsenal. They went unbeaten with 12 draws. 12 draws. I don't know what I just said. I sound like dwarfs. But yeah, Arsenal, don't forget, it's 12 draws. 12 draws. So not losing and just getting that extra point here and there really does. All right, mate. I'll let it go. Leeds in 10th. Oh, my God, that's higher than my prediction. I just think you've got something going on there, mate. I genuinely do. I think you strengthened in the right places after watching you and seeing how you played and what you did last year, closing out the season. I hope you push on. I want that rivalry to stay in the Premier League for as long as we can have it. Guys, let's focus on Chelsea. This is where it's really tight. As always, as it should be. Top end, business end, Champions League. So, As you can see, naturally, I've gone with top four because that's what it should be. But I think even when we start the season, we've got 5 Champions League spaces because the coefficients, we haven't lost any games in Europe, so we still say the highest coefficients. It's going to be a weird one for Chelsea. You can see right there, I've got them only 2 points behind Man United on my 70 points for United. Chelsea have enough individual quality to finish 4th or higher. And there's no doubt in that, right? They have like 50, 60 fucking players. They have so many players. They've got players on drugs bans. They've got players out on loan. They've got players fucking playing reserve team football that we don't even know about. They've probably got players down the pub playing for, a Sunday league side. But the new manager, new formation, it sort of will suit a lot of the players. They got Quenda coming in. I think he will be a big success at Chelsea. I do. Danny Welbeck up top. Dare I say it is more clinical than Pedro or fucking anyone else they might have. And obviously knows Pedro well enough you could play the two together. So, yeah, I still have sort of more questions about whether everything comes together, consistently over the 38 games. But those extra days on the training field, like we had, if you look at where I've put certain teams without European football, you can understand why they're there if you accept the fact that's why Man United made 3rd, right? You can't tar us with one brush and not tar them with the same. So that's the way I'm looking at it, and that's where I'm coming from. This could generally become United 70, Chelsea 68, or it could be fucking Chelsea on 78 and United in the 60s. We don't know. It's all strength and depth, and that's the one thing Chelsea have probably, I don't know, Arsenal and Man City maybe have a stronger, deeper team than Chelsea. Chelsea is very hard to say. They have so many players. I can't remember what half of them are like. Hence the reason we signed Santos. But with Cucurella going, that will be interesting as well. Players that are left. If Enzo goes, maybe my prediction goes out the window right there. Oh, hiccups. Daniel says they got no European football this year. They will be fighting this year. That's what I think. Chelsea even offered ME a contract the other day. Oh, me. I thought they were initials. That's it. Chelsea will literally just offer anyone a contract walking down the street. So, King says, we need 2 more strikers, a left back and a centre back. Yes, we do. Will we get them? No fucking chance. But we might get 1 or 2. And Daniel says, we still have 2 weeks left, so I'm confident Chelsea will offer me a deal. Hey, I'll take it. I'll go up there. I fucking hate Chelsea. I hate the bridge. But for me, it's just one long road straight over Tower Bridge from the south coast to get there. So, yeah, I can get to the games easy. Interesting. I like what you guys are saying about where you feel Chelsea, and it is funnier how we sort of look at Chelsea, Tottenham, and Newcastle in different lights because of their transfer windows, or maybe because of their squads. But there's a lot to be said about a small, tight squad playing once a week than having a huge squad where you've got to go deep in every cup competition you're in because you don't have the European competition. Because we saw it with United, for when we did get injuries, the players that came in cold were too cold. They had nothing to keep them going. If there was reserve team football, and I always say it, then we would never have this problem. But it's an absolute joke in England that we do not have that. So yeah, Chelsea, I think will qualify for Champions League football in 5th. I can't see why we would lose coefficients this year. I think we're going to be very strong in Europe. And I would probably say Chelsea are the team most likely to knock United out of my potential top four. And I think Chelsea could be one of those teams that might decide the title. So yeah, it is what it is. Now we're going to go to third. I said we're not doing United till the end for obvious reasons. Daniel, totally appreciate you being on here as a Leeds fan, mate. So just do now as where you think and what you've seen from the team in third, Man City. This might actually be sort of one of the most controversial predictions. I get it. Because I've seen people putting City down in like sixth. I've seen people putting City as winning the league. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. But like I said, I put this through 3 different major AI things. And City did come out as league winners in one of them. I just put that down to AI not realising Pep had left. And Maresca is, just a Timu version, look-alike of Pep. But City obviously still possess enormous amounts of quality, right? They're still keeping people like Cherky on the bench, but Reinders is gone, who is a loss to Premier League. I thought that he was a superb player. I don't know what went on, but frozen out, barely played. They still have Haaland. They still have fucking Mark Gay at the back. Donnarumma, one of the best keepers in the world. Phil Foden might turn up this year. Grealish started again. There's players for under Maresca who might be given a little bit more freedom, a little bit more ability to show what they've got, rather than be here, stand there, pass there. Don't fucking run into that square. You've got to stay in this 10-yard square. If that goes out the window and they get more freedom, we really could see a shit Man City, or a even more dangerous Man City, because we wouldn't know what to expect. So me personally, I'm not predicting a Man City collapse under Maresca. I'm really not. Don't know what's gone on there with the coaching staff, who stayed, who hasn't. Don't really give a shit. Tried to ignore everything and anything I see about Man City. I put them on 79 points, 9 points clear of us, and that's third place. So that's the big swing. But I think Arsenal and Liverpool currently, if Liverpool clicks, Liverpool are dangerous. If Liverpool doesn't click, Iraola made the wrong choice. He has to make it work. But there's players like Frimpong, Kirkes, Wirtz, Ekitike still going to be out injured, I think, until 2027. There's too many players that have questions over there, whether they work. Does Gakpo stay? Does Gakpo go? Soboslai? Soboslai. What's he going to be like this year? Last year he was trying to run the show. Mo Salah's gone. It could be a blessing. It could be a massive curse. But I think, Liverpool or Arsenal look a little bit more settled, because for obvious reasons. I think Pep Guardiola going is no different to us losing Sir Alex Ferguson, and maybe Maresca's the puppet that's the full idiot, whatever you want to call him. But City remain capable of putting together ridiculous winning runs. They really do. When you've got Haaland up front, you just got to put the ball in the box. If he works out a way to better supply Haaland, then fucking God help all of us. But it's an if, right? And that's what predictions are all about. So they're also sort of the team that are most capable of making, anyone's predictions look stupid. So it does worry me. But my question to you guys, everyone in the chat, everyone watching, are City still the team everyone fears, or are Arsenal that team now? That's my question to the chat. few from Daniel here. I'd put Spurs above Villa and Newcastle. It's possible, but I don't think they've got a goal scorer. That's why I'm keeping them down there. Man City without Rodri now, they are finished. Diaz is class. Haaland might. King says Haaland might be our Amazon signing mark. Oh God, can you imagine? Can you imagine? No, if Michael Carrick could have a dream, I think like any manager, Haaland would be one of those key people to bring in. Either that or the reincarnation of R9. I'll take them. Johnny Commode says Iraola has never managed European football before. Will be new to him. I think fourth, fifth for them. I haven't got on to Liverpool yet, Johnny. So let's do that now. Liverpool in second. You know, this is my closest challenger you can have to Arsenal. I think, like I said, Liverpool on their day can do stuff. But as Johnny has just said, Iraola never managed in Europe. How's he going to handle 2 to 3 games in 7 days at some points when you go further into tournaments, FA Cups, Carabao Cups, Champions League? It's a lot to learn, and it's going to be a very, very steep learning curve. Right now, Liverpool have enough attacking quality to stay with Arsenal for a large part of the season. But I'm doing my predictions now with nigh on two weeks. 2 weeks to say, does he go? Does he stay? Gakpo's obviously been the one linked with Tottenham. If Gakpo goes to Tottenham, Tottenham move higher up the league table in my predictions. But that's not happening right now. And that's probably one of the things I need to keep re-emphasising to you guys. I'm doing it as of now, not still potential transfers that might come or don't come. I'm looking at what we have, and then only Man United we'll look at the what ifs. But if Gakpo, who is heavily linked to going, was to leave Liverpool, then Liverpool don't finish second. Then Liverpool, I think Isak is quality but injury prone. Ekatike, like I said, in the new year, if you're lucky, is he going to be as good as he was at the start of last season? Probably not. It's going to be horrendous. He could have lost pace. Like Achilles injuries, I've hurt my Achilles and struggled to walk for almost a year without constantly feeling like it was going to snap. And this guy fucking did snap it. So I can only, 10x the pain I was in to what he might be going through and still not come close to understanding it. I would say the difference between the first and second for me is consistency. Arsenal currently look slightly better equipped to turn those sort of awkward 1-1 games into a 2-1 win. So whereas Liverpool, like I said, if you make a sub late on in the game, then you rest in your striker because you've got a European game midweek. Who's coming on? Rio Engamara? Is he really going to fill Mo Salah's shoes? I thought he was superb when he made the cameos in their pre-World Cup friendlies for England. Really rated him. Also got the same name as my dog in Rio, but I call mine Ferdinand. Just for a laugh. It pisses everyone else off. But yeah, I think Liverpool, it's about who they keep. Where we are right now, I think they could finish second, but on a different day, people start misfiring, picking up injuries early doors. What's Van Dijk going to be like? Is he finally past it? Last year, he was pretty fucking shit. And we thought maybe he was in decline. Maybe he comes back. So there are a lot of things to ask. But if you're doing pen and paper job, just with the names on the team sheet, I think Liverpool can be up there around the 84 parts. If they play Iraola's sort of high-intensity football, which they all should know if you played under Klopp. But there are players there now who didn't. Frimpong's a high-intensity player. Kirkes, high-intensity, knows the Iraola's system very well. But then you start looking at the midfield and the strikers, they are all new. And they've never really played Gegenpress, which is basically what Iraola's going to do. He's going to play Gegenpress, but in the Spanish way. And moves, I suppose, on to the fucking wankers at the top. The Gunners. Bang, bang, bang. Gunners in the house. Why have I put Arsenal champions again? You know, defending champions, so Arsenal are the benchmark, right? They're no longer the challengers, no longer the bridesmaid. Finally got fucking caught the bouquet and got someone to marry him. Seems to be a theme running through this show, if you notice, about weddings. No, I'm not getting married, but there was a ring in front of me for the entire show until I dropped it on the floor from one of the kids. So they're established. They've got structure. They seem to be playing rotational football now, very similar to PSG, what United want to try, and it's something a little bit different. They seem to have multiple ways to score goals and still trying to bring in players. I think the signing of the additional defensive midfielder really did make me sort of stand up and think, fuck. Because after signing Zubimendi last year, okay, I thought he flopped. Personally, I seen Zubimendi playing in Spain, and I was like, he's not as good as everyone's making out. He's just looking good in that league. I didn't rate him against Man United when we played Bilbao. Was it Bilbao? Not Bilbao, was it? I can't think. We played in Bilbao against them. I can't think who it was. But, you know, Arsenal just constantly to bring in Bruno G and Declan Rice. If it works, great. If it doesn't, fucking even better, because it means they wasted under $1 million on a flop. But Bruno G is really not a bad replacement to go back to having that sort of enforcer, and that's the way I think they might play him. I don't think it's going to be a double pivot. I think Gary Neville hit the nail on the head on the overlap when he was saying about how Declan Rice should be playing a lot higher up the pitch. You know, he shouldn't really be sitting in front of the back four. We'll let Bruno G do that. Zubimendi tried to do it, but didn't really work for him. We'll have to wait and see. But it's all about that control. The defence, I think, is probably still going to be the best defence in the league. Dare I say it, the defence to beat. Sociedad, thank you, Johnny. I knew I had blue and white. I could not think who it was. But yeah, he's never been that good, even at Sociedad. And people don't want to listen because I'm just United Lens. I'm just Mark Langridge, and you know, I'm down here with 280 something subscribers. I don't know what I'm talking about compared to United Stand. You can think that, but I will back it with facts. I've grown up in Spain, like half my junior life, watching Spanish football religiously. It's never come out of me. Still watch it on ITV or whatever it's called, the sports channel now, to watch in the UK. Real Madrid are my Spanish side because I love the white kit. And I understand every single aspect of Spanish football and how they play, and that's when I look at players and I'm telling you, but we're looking at a left back at a really shit fucking club, and he's nowhere near good enough at 19 to come into Manchester United. You need to believe me, but Harry Amas is better than him because he's Premier League, not proven, but he understands it. Born and raised in the fire. Seek says I speak facts. Thank you, my man. I try, and that's all I want to do is speak the facts, and you can take them or leave them, and that's your choice. Unlike a lot of people who just talk at you, I just try and, I don't want to say educate you because I sound like a right fucking arse if I say educate, but I try to explain the what, when, whys instead of just, oh, it's this way because that's what I think. Because I could still be wrong, right? I don't know what the manager's telling someone to do in their changing room. So the way I see it, they might have been told to play like an idiot. Might be a part of a trap. Might be a trigger. But yeah, staying on Arsenal, I think they win the league. I think they're a couple of points clear. I had them around there 88 points, as you can see on here. It could easily be 90. It's not going to be anywhere near 100. I think they go deep in all 4 competitions again. But they are a couple of injuries away from collapse. If Raya got injured in goal, I don't know how they would cope. If your Declan Rice's go down, your Odegaard, Saliba, Martinez, then no chance. But they are so reliant probably on the spine of their team. What Arsenal have is a solid spine, and it's everything Man United need to bring in, and that's the way I think of it. Zeke says, I think we win the league if we get a left back and a holding midfielder. Only because I think Carrick prioritises the league over any other competition. Zeeks, I love your positivity. I was on Tactical Devils last night. Jarvis still in the chat. I doubt it. Maybe you're listening. But I was on there last night with Cash from Never a Foul, who have raided us. And that guy is not even glass half full. He is fucking filling it to the top, mate. In positivity. He'd love that comment. I'm telling you now. And there is some truth there. A left back that's mobile, getting... Oh, yes, you were there. A left back that can get up and down on the overlaps and get back defensively just as fast. And I need a holding midfielder that can do that, or just a midfielder. I don't mind Santos playing, but I need someone who can tackle, attack, pass. But more importantly, I said it 1,000 times, I need an Onana kind of player. And if anyone's watched Stick to United today, when it came out, fucking listen to Wayne Rooney. Listen to me, then listen to Wayne Rooney, then listen to me. We are speaking the same words, and I tell you what, I've got to do some research once the transcripts come out, because I'm pretty sure everything he said, apart from the Rashford stuff, we speak very similar. And I always thought you become the players you grow up around, watching and being. I was like, Jesus, this is mental. Yeah, I until someone proves they're better than Arsenal over 38 games, I think Arsenal stay there. Man City are obviously more than capable. Is Maresca the man to do that? I hope so in a way, because I want Haaland to stay in the Premier League. Obviously, I always want to see good strikers playing and have the best of the best in our league to make it the best elite league in the world. But if Man City start fucking dropping, then someone's coming in for Haaland and he'll want out. I don't think he'll worry about the money. He's probably already made it enough. But Haaland to Barcelona, maybe. We know Madrid probably would want him, but unless they do a player swap, Mbappe for Haaland, I don't see it happening. But yeah, I think someone has to come out and beat Arsenal now, hands down. I'm talking turn them over twice in a season and still be up there in the Champions League spot, chasing them down, piling that pressure on. So that pretty much does my predictions. Obviously, we will come on to Man United next, but I really wasn't expecting the Newcastle one to be the one where people go, "You're fucking mad. What are you talking about Newcastle being that high up?" I really thought it'd be Fulham being relegated. So I know it sort of becomes partly hidden, but yeah, I thought it'd be Fulham or Brentford down the bottom. But you've made my show. It's good, but I don't do things for clicks. I think you all know that by now. I genuinely think these are possibilities that could happen. Six says, yeah, we need 2 athletic players, holding midfielder and left back, who are athletic. We also need athletic right back if that was the case. Otherwise, we become lopsided. We have one in the 21s, Clemerson. but I've got to be careful because I keep trying to call him Kleberson, and we don't need him back. Zeke likes the predictions. Thank you, my man. So yeah, let's talk about us. Let's really get on it. Let's talk about us now. Obviously, I'm going to slow it down a bit because there's so much more to go over with United. Like I said, I'm looking at it as of today, right? Well, I say today, the 18th, but you know we're just about to go to the 19th if you're in the UK. We've got 15 minutes left. Let's focus on United. Let's finish it off properly. It's been a fucking hour and 45 minutes to go through the leagues. I think at a sensible pace. I hope this is one of those videos that people understand why we have to go slow. But right now, I put United at 70 points. Yes, we had 71 last season, but I think some teams around us are going to be stronger. I mean, it's going to be harder to pick up that odd point here or odd point there. Do I think we beat the top 6 consistently like we were? Not consistently. You know, Liverpool games, I don't think will go the same way as they did. They could be draws easily. Could be 1 win apiece. You know, that changes the landscape instantly. A 6-point swing right there. But I don't think we're going for a title race as much as Man United want us to believe we're capable of doing it with absolutely no signings. I do think we'll get another 2 signings across the line. I really do. But as of right now, I think 5th, 4th is where it's going to be at. It's going to be Champions League football. That's the most important thing. I don't care about winning the league. I care about us staying in the Champions League to start showing these players we have at the club, but we're moving forward. Otherwise, if we drop out the Champions League again, it's just going to breathe so much negativity back into the club. You might as well get rid of Carrick, bring in another new manager, because it's the only way to stop the negativity is to bring in someone who can go, if you talk like that, get the fuck out of the club. You know, which Carrick won't be able to do. Last season, United actually finished 3rd, and did we overachieve? Come on, guys, be honest. Did we overachieve? Of course you fucking overachieved. No one saw that coming. If you thought we were going to go from where we finished the season before to fucking 3rd, I'm calling bullshit. Out and out liar. But we did qualify for Champions League. You know, so 4th isn't based on United just suddenly jumping 10 places again. It's based on we got 4th. We had a weaker squad from what we're saying now. We do need to find 10 goals from somewhere, because obviously we've lost them from Casemiro, and I don't see him in Talisman and Santos. So we need to pick up that 10. But I think we get more goals from Mbeumo. I think we get more goals from Sesko when he actually gets fit. Maybe that's a different show we could do midweek or something. I think the question is whether Carrick can sustain the improvements. There's a lot to be said about coming in as the interim manager, not knowing if this guy is going to be given a job. He's coming in, arm around the shoulder, making you happy, giving you time, giving you play, free Kobe Mainu. But now he wants to make signings. He's the big boy. He's the real man. He's the boss. And it's like, no, I need a Chouameni. I need an Osman. I'm going to bring Marcus Rashford back on the left because I played with him and I've coached him and I know him. I need a left back. I need the centre back. And he, next thing you know, people's noses are going, whoa, 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 whoa. I thought I was your man. So this is a totally different test on Carrick now. Something that's not being looked at. I think he's got respect from the players. But respect only gets you so far. We know that. Especially at Carrington. These players just do what they want. We'll have to wait and see. So 70 points, cool, is sort of, I think it's interesting from my point of view. It's 20 wins, 10 draws, 8 defeats. That's 70 points. 20 wins in a 38 game season. If I said that to you 2, 3, 4 years ago, you'd probably be happy with 20 wins and 10 draws, knowing that's going to what points tally it would give you. So we become a little bit impatient, impractical, all the imps. But we got to have the belief, and I think Carrick brought the belief back to the fans. He brought it back to the players. In Carrick, always believe it's not schools, it's Carrick. When you're singing shit like that constantly, the fans have got you behind the back. We know we sing for everyone, right? We're singing for things, but it was different. When you've been there, you felt it. You feel it's different. You feel it's the truth. He's one of your own. He comes. He's there for the fight. He's there to. I wouldn't be surprised if that Holbert watch he's wearing is fucking Alex Ferguson's. Do you know what I mean? Is it the old Fergie watch? Because that's what he's bringing back. He's just bringing a little bit of something that has been lacking. And I want to see if it's there. I think they got one hell of a beating, lads, from the AC Milan in the way they applied themselves. I don't care about that. You guys shouldn't care about that. It was a last pre-season friendly. Just get out of there without getting injured was the mentality our players showed. It's a weak-ass fucking pussy mentality, but we need them fit. I could swing my range from about 67 to about 74 points with each, right? But I settled on a 70. It just felt like the right number. I'm not asking for Carrick to win the league, right? I'm asking for Man United to stop throwing points away and fucking conceding last-minute goals we shouldn't be conceding, to wake up in the first 2 minutes of the game and not concede goals and just be more cohesive. And I tell you what, if we did that last year, we would have finished second. If you think of the games where we threw points down the drains from proper winning positions or last-minute goals, you think we got it and they've still come back and scored, it was criminal. Zeke says Xerxes could be on his way to Napoli. That's good for me. It's more money in, but then we're down a player that I don't know where we're going to replace. Is it Xerxes out? Shea Lacey's his replacement, ready-made? Is that how Glinios, you know what I mean, Glazer Ineos, Glinios see it? Probably. Johnny Commode's in the house saying we benefited from the fact that it was a competitive league and we found a way to be consistent second half of the season. I think we will find a way to get enough wins to get Champions League again. I do as well. Ian's in the house. Xerxes Mint. Xerxes is an absolute outrageous player. Okay? He's outrageous skill, outrageous hair, but it's outrageous that we don't know where the fucking guy plays. That's the problem. Like, in pre-season, he's looked like a really, really good 10. He has. And I didn't think I'd be saying that after the 6 pre-season friendlies. I really didn't. I thought Xerxes wouldn't even make it through 6 friendlies. He'd be out the door sooner. But the reason Nappy are looking at him is because he done well. But I can't see Napoli being the team he goes to, if I'm honest. Can you see him playing behind Rasmus? God, that'd be Rasmus, Xerxes, McTominay, like as 3 out of 4 of the spine of their team. That's mental. John says, I can see games like last season where it was close, 3-2s, etc. Defence will be an issue, but I think our forward line may bail us out a few times. Well, that's what they did at the end of last season. They kept bailing us out. But, the truth is, how many times can you be bailed out? Why we've been live, I don't know if anyone has seen it. David Ornstein's put out for Ollie Watkins has had an approach made for him from Al Hilal, but it's been rejected. So you can definitely rule out Ollie Watkins coming to Man United. And maybe this means that they don't need to sell, or it was nowhere near enough. Xerxes is now a 10. Wow. Oh, Ian, you're speaking my language. We spoke about this last night, Seeks. You were there, Johnny. I think you've seen the video. I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. I can see football going back to 2 up top. I can see the 10 being the Teddy Sheringham and the Dwight York, not where they are now in an actual pocket behind. I can see them just playing up front, occupying a centre back, and being the one that drops away and you link with someone else, create the triangles, and the other striker runs into the gap. And Xerxes fits that, and Bumo fits that. With a Sesko, it would work. Do I think... I know Mbumo and Sesko would work 100%. Xerxes and Sesko, the one thing that worries me is a little bit too much flair between the players. I saw them playing at the end of last season, and there was literally fucking Cruyff flicks and back heels and that in a sort of a 4-pass combination. And it looked great. Apart from it went one too many and was intercepted at the one time you don't want to be intercepted, right on the edge of the box. So, Ian, you like I say, mate, you're speaking my language. It's good to see you, though. There's new name in the chat. I hope you've hit the subscribe button and, get all those notifications and everything turned on, because we are about to kick up a notch into the league. I will be live on... probably 2 shows. No, I won't be 2 shows Saturday. I will do the scorecard after the game on Saturday. I think I'm going to do a show on Thursday if people are around, for the preview for obviously the match. And then Sunday we'll be live at 10 o'clock again. But I've got one hell of a hectic weekend. Guys, it has been absolutely phenomenal. We are just about to start wrapping up the show. King Carrick says he does hope we go back to a 4-4-2. I wish we went back to the 90s in total and actually got some tackles and get rid of VAR, or keep VAR and see what happens with the tackles. Because that'd be funny. Can you imagine Finney Jones, Eric Cantona on the VAR and trying to plead your case? A slow-mo of that scissor tackle round Cantona in the gold, green and gold. Seek says, I think we should go full attack against Hull. Rashi on the left wing and Bumo striker, and Ahmad right wing. Cunha in the 10. Seek says no Bruno, unless you're playing him further back in the 8. But I allow it. Put it that way. I will definitely allow that, because although Bruno's not fit, that's on him. So it is what it is. Johnny Kamo says, great show, Mark. Great insight and observations. I believe we will be all right this season. Up the mighty Reds. Thank you, my man. Always appreciate the compliments. I'm never very good at taking them. I'm better at taking abuse from the fans back in the day. So didn't get many compliments. Just normally stuff we can't put on live on a stream. Great show today. Thank you. So like I say, we'll be back. I just want to finish off by saying that these shows are nothing without you. So that's why we're pushing the subscribership. YouTube's making some changes on viewership, on minutes and everything. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to let it push me down. Seeks has just said soon 500. My goal is 500 by November. It's a stretch goal. I believe in fucking shooting for the stars and seeing where you fall, right? We should be hitting 300 by the end of this month. That is a must. I believe it's more than possible to be done. We are at 290 as of tonight, so 10 more to go. Everyone watching, if you could just hit a subscribe on your way out. Maybe you come back in. Maybe you came from the raid from Never a Foul. Maybe you're not a United fan, but just think about what YouTube is doing to us creators right now. Down the bottom, they're making us harder to come up just so they can keep pushing out fucking Disney Plus, Overlap, Sky, you know, people like that. They're giving priority to TV stations and big fucking channels. But some of them have agendas, some of them have producers, and it's all bullshit. You won't ever get that here. So that's all I can leave with you. Thank you for watching. I will see you Thursday night, 10 p.m. We will do the preview for the very first game of the 26-27 season against Hull. Be there, bring your score predictions, and let's make it a party. Thanks, guys. Good night.